She betrayed me in that house. Let her new life burn with it.
The rain hammered Seattle like God's own percussion section having a nervous breakdown. I watched it streak down my home office window while my wife Sam explained why our 17-year-old son Owen needed to apologize to her brother Derek for existing. "Elliot, are you even listening?" Sam's voice cut through my thoughts like a rusty blade through silk. 20 years of marriage had taught me to recognize that particular tone, the one that meant I was about to be conscripted into whatever family drama was currently consuming her perfectly manicured world. I turned from the window, taking in my wife's appearance. At 39, Samantha Granger still turned heads at the country club. Blonde hair that cost more than most people's rent, yoga sculpted body wrapped in designer athleisure that probably cost more than my first car. She stood in my doorway like she owned the place, which technically she half did. "Sorry, what about Derek?" I asked, though I already knew this conversation would end with me wanting to drink myself into the next Tuesday. "He's coming for dinner tomorrow night. Owen was incredibly rude to him last weekend at Mom's birthday party." I leaned back in my ergonomic chair, the one Sam had bought me for Christmas 3 years ago, back when she still pretended to care about my chronic back pain from too many hours hunched over computer screens, hunting down security vulnerabilities for corporate clients who paid me well to find their digital weak spots. "Define incredibly rude," I said. Sam's perfectly glossed lips compressed into a thin line. He called Derek a trust fund parasite in front of everyone. I couldn't help myself. A laugh escaped before I could stop it. "Well, Derek is a trust fund parasite. The man's 42 years old and has never held a job longer than 6 months. He's currently living in your mother's guest house, driving her Mercedes and spending her money on whatever new get-rich-quick scheme caught his attention this week. He's family, Elliot. So is Owen, and Owen was just being honest." Sam's eyes flashed with that familiar combination of frustration and condescension that had become her default expression when dealing with me. "Derek is going through a difficult time. His startup failed, he is between apartments, and he needs our support. His cryptocurrency day trading venture wasn't a startup, Sam. It was gambling with your mother's retirement fund, and he's not between apartments. He got evicted because he spent the rent money on NFTs of cartoon monkeys. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Derek screwed up again, and somehow that's Owen's fault for pointing it out." The conversation continued for another 10 minutes, following the same predictable pattern as every argument we'd had over the past 2 years. Sam would defend her worthless brother. I'd point out reality. She'd accuse me of being unsupportive, and eventually one of us would storm off. Usually her. This time was no different. "Fine," she said, her voice dripping with the kind of wounded dignity that would have impressed Shakespeare. "I'll handle this myself, like I handle everything else in this family." She spun on her designer sneakers and stalked out, leaving behind the faint scent of her expensive perfume and the lingering atmosphere of barely contained hostility that had become the soundtrack to our marriage. I returned to my computer, trying to focus on the penetration testing report I was writing for a tech company in Bellevue. But concentration was impossible. The house felt different lately, charged with unspoken tensions and secrets that seemed to multiply in the corners like dust bunnies. My phone buzzed with a text from my daughter Lily. "Dad, can you drive me to Emma's house? Mom said she's too busy." I found Lily in the kitchen, backpack slung over her shoulder, dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail that somehow managed to look effortlessly cool in the way only 15-year-old girls could achieve. She had Sam's bone structure, but my eyes, dark brown and perpetually skeptical. "Where's your mom?" I asked, grabbing my keys from the granite countertop that Sam had insisted we needed during last year's kitchen renovation. "Upstairs on the phone. She's been talking to Aunt Maddie for like an hour about Uncle Derek's situation." Lily made air quotes around the last word, and I realized with a mixture of pride and concern that both my kids had inherited my talent for seeing through bullshit. The drive to Emma's house took us through our neighborhood, Maple Ridge Estates, a gated community where every house looked like it had been designed by someone who'd watched too many HGTV shows and had unlimited access to beige paint. Perfectly manicured lawns, 3-car garages, and the kind of oppressive conformity that made me feel like I was living in a suburban horror movie. "Dad," Lily said as we pulled into Emma's driveway, "are you and Mom getting divorced?" The question hit me like a punch to the solar plexus. "Why would you ask that?" "Because you barely talk to each other anymore. And when you do, it's always about Uncle Derek or money or something stupid. Plus, Mom's been acting really weird lately. Weird how? Lily shrugged, but I could see the worry in her eyes. She's always on her phone, texting people. And she goes out with her friends like 3 times a week now. She never used to do that. I wanted to reassure her, to tell her everything was fine, that marriages went through rough patches and we'd work things out. But I'd never lied to my kids, and I wasn't about to start now. I don't know, kiddo. Things are complicated right now. She nodded like she'd expected that answer. Just, if you do get divorced, can I live with you? Owen wants to, too. Uncle Derek creeps us out. After dropping off Lily, I drove home through the rain, her words echoing in my head. The house was quiet when I walked in. Sam's car was gone, probably off to another girls' night with Maddie and her other friends from the country club. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and settled into my recliner, trying to make sense of the growing distance between Sam and me. When had we stopped being partners and started being adversaries? When had every conversation become a negotiation, every disagreement a battle? The bourbon burned going down, but it was a clean burn, honest and straightforward, unlike everything else in my life lately. My phone rang. Owen. Dad, where are you? Home. Where are you? At Jake's house. Listen, I need to tell you something, but not over the phone. Can you pick me up? 30 minutes later, Owen slid into the passenger seat of my Honda Pilot, his dark hair plastered to his head from the rain. He'd inherited Sam's height, but my build, lean and wiry with the kind of restless energy that came from being too smart for his own good. What's going on? I asked as we sat in Jake's driveway. Owen stared out the windshield for a long moment, then turned to face me. Dad, I found something on Mom's laptop. My stomach dropped. What kind of something? Videos. Of her and some guy. They were, The world seemed to tilt sideways. I gripped the steering wheel harder, trying to anchor myself to something solid. Are you sure? Pretty sure. The guy's name is Trent something. He's got tattoos and drives a red Mustang. I've seen him at the gym where Mom works out. Trent Wallace. I knew exactly who Owen was talking about. Former Army, now some kind of fitness influencer with a YouTube channel and a line of protein supplements. Sam had mentioned him a few times, always in passing, always casual. Just another member of their workout group. How long have you known? I asked. I found the first video last month. I thought maybe it was old from before you guys got married or something. But then I saw the date stamp. Dad, it was from 2 weeks ago. We sat in silence for several minutes, the only sound the rhythmic drumming of rain on the roof. I felt like I was drowning in slow motion, watching my life collapse frame by frame. Does Lily know? Yeah, we talked about it. We didn't know what to do. What do you want to do? Owen looked at me with eyes that seemed far too old for his 17 years. We want you to be happy, Dad. And you haven't been happy in a long time. That night, after Owen and Lily had gone to bed, I sat in my office staring at a bottle of bourbon and trying to process the wreckage of my marriage. Sam came home around midnight, reeking of wine and perfume, offering some vague excuse about dinner running late. I watched her lie to my face with the same casual ease she probably used to order coffee, and something inside me finally snapped. But instead of confronting her, instead of screaming or throwing things or demanding explanations, I did something that surprised even me. I started planning. The next morning, Sam left early for what she claimed was a breakfast meeting with her team at Morrison & Associates, the HR consulting firm where she'd worked her way up to senior partner. She kissed my cheek with lips that tasted like lies and expensive lip gloss, grabbed her designer coffee tumbler, and disappeared into the gray Seattle morning. I waited exactly 30 minutes before I began my digital archaeology expedition. 23 years in cybersecurity had taught me that people were incredibly careless with their digital footprints. They used the same passwords for everything, saved login credentials in browsers, and assumed that deleting something meant it was actually gone. Sam was no exception. Her laptop was a MacBook Pro that she'd left charging on the kitchen counter, unlocked, because why would she need to hide anything from her trusting husband? I connected my portable drive and began copying her hard drive while I made coffee and tried to pretend my hands weren't shaking. The copying process would take about an hour. I spent the time cleaning the kitchen and wondering when I'd become the kind of person who spied on his wife. The answer was simple. The moment she'd decided to film herself having sex with a muscle-bound Instagram influencer. My phone buzzed with a text from Mason Yu, my lawyer, and one of the few people I still considered a genuine friend. We'd met in college, bonded over late-night coding sessions, and a shared appreciation for bourbon that bordered on the unhealthy. He'd gone to law school while I'd pursued cybersecurity, but we'd stayed close over the years. Coffee later? Need to discuss the Peterson contract? I texted back. Rain check? Family stuff. Everything okay? Define okay? Shit. Call me when you're ready to talk. Mason was good people, the kind of friend who would help you move a body and never ask questions. I wasn't ready to talk yet, but I knew I'd need his expertise soon enough. The hard drive finished copying just as Sam's car pulled into the driveway. I pocketed the drive and tried to look casual as she walked through the front door, shaking rain from her umbrella. "How was breakfast?" I asked. "Productive. We landed the Meridian account." She paused, studying my face. "Are you feeling all right? You look tired?" "Didn't sleep well. Too much coffee yesterday." She nodded absently, already scrolling through her phone. "I need to run some errands before Derek comes for dinner. Can you pick up wine? Something expensive? You know how he is about wine." Actually, I knew that Derek couldn't tell the difference between a $50 bottle of Cabernet and something that came with a screw cap, but arguing would only lead to another fight about my attitude toward her family. "Sure. Any particular brand?" Surprise me. After she left, I locked myself in my office and began the painstaking process of examining Sam's digital life. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. The affair with Trent Wallace had been going on for 8 months. The videos Owen had discovered were just the tip of the iceberg. There were dozens of explicit messages, photos, and recorded video calls. But it was the text message threads that really gutted me. Sam to Trent. "E is working late again. Come over at 9. Trent to Sam. "Your husband seems like a decent guy. Doesn't this bother you?" Sam to Trent. "He's boring. Good father, good provider, but boring. I need excitement." Trent to Sam. "What if he finds out?" Sam to Trent. "He won't. He's too buried in his computers to notice anything. Besides, even if he did, what's he going to do? He needs me more than I need him." That last message felt like a knife between the ribs. 20 years of marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage, shared dreams and disappointments, and she thought I needed her more than she needed me. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd become so comfortable in our routine that I'd stopped being a husband and started being a roommate who helped pay the bills. But comfort was a two-way street, and she'd decided to take a detour through Trent Wallace's bedroom. I kept digging, following the digital breadcrumbs deeper into Sam's secret life. What I found next made me physically sick. She'd been moving money. Small amounts at first, 500 here, 1,000 there, transferred to a cryptocurrency account that she'd set up using a fake email address. Over the past 6 months, she'd moved nearly $40,000 from our joint savings account, our kids' college fund, the money we'd been saving for Lily's art school dreams and Owen's computer science degree. She was planning to leave me. The affair with Trent wasn't just about excitement or boredom. It was an exit strategy. She was liquidating our marriage, converting our shared assets into untraceable digital currency. I sat back in my chair staring at the evidence of my wife's betrayal spread across multiple monitors. The rain outside had intensified, turning the world beyond my windows into a gray blur that matched my mood perfectly. My phone rang. Owen. "Dad, I'm at school, but I wanted to warn you. Mom called and asked if I'd said anything to you about her laptop. I told her no, but she seemed suspicious." "Thanks for the heads up. Are you okay? You sound weird." "I'm fine. Just tired. Focus on school." "Dad?" "Yeah?" "Whatever you're planning to do about Mom, Lily and I are on your side." The line went dead, leaving me alone with the weight of my son's loyalty and the evidence of my wife's treachery. I spent the rest of the day documenting everything: screenshots, file copies, transaction records. By the time Derek arrived for dinner, I had assembled a comprehensive dossier of Sam's infidelity and financial fraud. Derek Wallace, no relation to Trent despite sharing a last name, was exactly what you'd expect from a 42-year-old man who'd never held a real job. Soft around the middle, thinning hair that he tried to disguise with expensive styling products, and the kind of entitled attitude that came from a lifetime of other people solving his problems. He arrived 20 minutes late, driving his mother's Mercedes and carrying a bottle of wine that probably cost more than most people spent on groceries in a month. "Elliot," he said, gripping my hand with the kind of aggressive handshake that was supposed to demonstrate dominance, but mostly just demonstrated insecurity. "Good to see you, buddy." I'd never been Derek's buddy, and we both knew it. But family dinners required a certain amount of performative civility, so I smiled and invited him in. Dinner was a masterclass in passive aggression. Sam played the perfect hostess. Derek held court with stories about his latest entrepreneurial ventures, and Owen and Lily sat in sullen silence, occasionally exchanging glances that spoke volumes about their opinion of their uncle. "So, Derek," I said during a lull in his monologue about cryptocurrency mining, "what's your next move? Job-wise, I mean." Sam shot me a warning look, but I was past caring about her feelings. Derek waved his hand dismissively. "Traditional employment is dead, Elliot. The future is about creating your own opportunities, building passive income streams. I'm actually looking at a fantastic opportunity in the NFT space." Didn't the NFT market crash about 2 years ago? Short-term volatility. The smart money is buying the dip. With whose money? The question hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. Derek's smile faltered, and Sam looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. "I'm sorry," Derek said. "Just wondering whose money you're planning to invest, since you don't have a job." "Elliot," Sam said sharply. "It's a reasonable question, Sam. Derek's talking about investment opportunities, but he's living in your mother's guest house and driving her car. So I'm curious about the source of his investment capital." Derek's face had gone red. "I have resources. Your mother's resources. She's a partner in my ventures. She's your ATM." Owen snorted with laughter before he could stop himself. Lily kicked him under the table, but I could see she was fighting back a smile. "That's enough," Sam said, her voice ice cold. "Derek is family. So are Owen and Lily, and they're the ones who'll suffer when Derek's latest scheme fails, and your mother has to choose between bailing him out again or helping pay for college." Derek stood up so fast his chair nearly tipped over. "I don't have to listen to this." "No," I agreed. "You don't. There's the door." He looked to Sam for support, but she was staring at her plate like it contained the secrets of the universe. "This isn't over," Derek said, pointing at me with the kind of dramatic flourish that probably looked better in his head. "Yeah, it is." After Derek left, Sam and I cleaned up in silence while the kids disappeared upstairs. The tension in the kitchen was thick enough to cut with a knife. "That was unnecessary," Sam finally said. "Which part? The part where I asked reasonable questions about your brother's finances, or the part where I pointed out that he's a 42-year-old child? He's going through a difficult time. He's going through other people's money. There's a difference." Sam slammed a plate into the dishwasher hard enough that I was surprised it didn't shatter. "Why do you hate my family?" "I don't hate your family. I hate watching your family take advantage of you and your mother. That's not what's happening." "Isn't it? When was the last time Derek contributed anything to anyone? When was the last time he held a job for more than 6 months? When was the last time he paid for his own dinner?" "Not everyone defines success the way you do, Elliot. I define success as being able to support yourself without relying on other people's charity. Call me old-fashioned." She turned to face me, and for a moment I saw something in her eyes that might have been guilt. But it passed so quickly I might have imagined it. "Sometimes I wonder if you even like me anymore," she said quietly. The honest answer was that I wasn't sure. I loved her, or at least I loved the memory of who she used to be. But the woman standing in front of me, the woman who was cheating on me and stealing from our children's future, felt like a stranger wearing my wife's face. "Sometimes I wonder the same thing about you," I said. She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked upstairs without another word. I finished loading the dishwasher and tried to convince myself that I was doing the right thing, that the evidence I'd gathered was justified, that the plans forming in my head were reasonable responses to betrayal. But mostly, I just felt tired. Tired of pretending everything was fine, tired of making excuses for Derek, tired of being married to someone who thought I was too boring to notice that she was systematically dismantling our life together. Tomorrow, I decided, I would call Mason. Tomorrow, I would start fighting back. Tonight, I would sit in my office with a glass of bourbon and try to figure out how 20 years of marriage had come to this. Mason Yu's law office occupied the 15th floor of a downtown Seattle high-rise, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a spectacular view of Elliott Bay when it wasn't raining. Today, the windows showed nothing but gray clouds and the occasional seagull struggling against the wind. Mason himself looked like central casting's idea of a successful attorney. Expensive suit, perfectly styled black hair, and the kind of confident bearing that came from winning more cases than he lost. But I'd known him long enough to see past the professional facade to the guy who used to pull all-nighters debugging code and arguing about the philosophical implications of artificial intelligence. "You look like hell," he said, gesturing to the leather chair across from his mahogany desk. "Feel worse. Thanks for seeing me on short notice." "Always. Coffee?" "God, yes." He poured 2 cups from an expensive-looking machine that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. The coffee was perfect, rich, dark, and strong enough to wake the dead. "So," Mason said, settling behind his desk, "what's going on? And don't tell me it's nothing. I've seen you handle corporate espionage cases and nation-state hackers without breaking a sweat. Whatever's happening at home has you rattled." I pulled out my phone and opened the folder where I'd stored the evidence of Sam's affair. "My wife is cheating on me." Mason's expression didn't change, but I saw his lawyer brain kick into gear. "How do you know? Video evidence, text messages, financial records showing she's been moving money to cryptocurrency accounts?" I slid the phone across his desk. "It's all there." He spent the next 20 minutes reviewing the files, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. His face remained professionally neutral, but I caught him wincing a few times at the more explicit content. "Jesus, Elliot, how long has this been going on?" 8 months that I can prove, maybe longer." "And the money?" "Nearly 40,000 from our joint savings. Most of it was earmarked for the kids' college funds." Mason leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "Okay, let's talk about your options. Washington is a no-fault divorce state, which means the affair itself won't affect asset division. But the financial stuff, that's different. Moving marital assets without consent could be considered dissipation." "English, please." "She stole from you. The court won't like that. We can probably get the money back plus damages." "What about custody?" "The kids are old enough to have a voice in where they want to live, and if they choose you, the court will listen, especially given the financial impropriety." I felt a small spark of hope for the first time in days. "So I have a chance?" "Better than a chance. You have leverage. The question is, what do you want to do with it?" That was the question, wasn't it? Part of me wanted to march home and confront Sam immediately, to throw the evidence in her face and demanded explanations. But another part of me, the part that had spent 2 decades in cybersecurity, learning patience and planning, wanted to be more strategic. "What would you do?" I asked. Mason smiled, and for a moment he looked like the college kid who used to help me hack into the university's computer system to change our grades. "I'd make her pay, not just financially, socially, professionally, personally. She betrayed you, stole from your children, and apparently thinks you're too stupid to notice. That kind of arrogance deserves consequences." "Legal consequences?" "Legal, social, professional. The works. But we'd need to be smart about it. Methodical." "I'm listening." Mason pulled out a fresh legal pad and clicked his pen. "First, we secure the evidence. Everything you found, plus anything else we can dig up. I have a private investigator who specializes in matrimonial cases, former FBI, very thorough, very discreet." "What kind of additional evidence?" "Financial records, communication logs, maybe some surveillance. If she's been meeting this Trent guy regularly, we want documentation. Dates, times, locations. The more comprehensive our case, the better our negotiating position." "And then?" "Then we decide how public you want this to get. A quiet divorce where she gives you everything you want in exchange for discretion? Or a scorched earth approach where everyone in your social circle learns exactly what kind of person she is?" I thought about Derek's smug face at dinner, about Sam's casual dismissal of my concerns, about the text message where she'd called me boring and predictable. "Scorched earth," I said. Mason grinned. "I was hoping you'd say that." We spent the next hour planning my wife's destruction with the methodical precision of a military campaign. Mason would handle the legal aspects, filing papers, securing injunctions, freezing assets. The private investigator would document Sam's movements and gather additional evidence, and I would use my cybersecurity skills to ensure we had access to every digital breadcrumb she'd left behind. "One more thing," Mason said as I prepared to leave. "Are you sure about this? Once we start down this path, there's no going back. Your marriage will be over, your social circle will implode, and your kids will have to deal with the fallout." "My marriage is already over. Sam ended it the moment she decided to start filming herself with another man. I'm just making it official." "Fair enough. But, Elliot, be careful. Cornered people do desperate things." I drove home through the afternoon rain, Mason's warning echoing in my head. Sam's car was in the driveway, along with a red Mustang that I recognized from the gym where she worked out. Trent Wallace was in my house. I parked across the street and called Owen. Dad, why are you calling? Aren't you home? I'm outside. Is your mom home? Yeah, she's upstairs with some guy. They said they were going to work out, but they've been up there for like an hour and I haven't heard any exercise equipment. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. The sheer audacity of it, bringing her lover to our house while our children were home in the middle of the afternoon, was breathtaking. Are you and Lily okay? We're fine. We're in the basement playing video games. But Dad, this is really weird. Mom never brings workout partners home. I know, buddy. Listen, I need you and Lily to stay downstairs for a while, okay? I'm going to come in through the back door. Are you going to confront them? The hope in his voice was heartbreaking. My 17-year-old son was ready for me to fight for our family, even if it meant destroying the illusion of normalcy we'd all been pretending to maintain. Not today, but soon. I ended the call and sat in my car, watching my house and trying to decide what to do. The smart play was to leave, to let Mason's private investigator document this meeting and add it to our growing pile of evidence. But the emotional play was to march upstairs and catch them in the act. In the end, I chose a third option. I pulled out my phone and opened the security app that controlled our home's smart system. Sam had insisted on the upgrade last year. Cameras, motion sensors, smart locks, the works. She'd said it would make us safer. She was about to learn that safety was a relative concept. I activated the recording function on the bedroom camera and settled back to wait. If Sam wanted to use our house as her personal brothel, she could do it on camera. The footage would make an excellent addition to our divorce proceedings. 45 minutes later, Trent Wallace emerged from my front door looking like he'd just finished a marathon. He was tall, muscular, and covered in tattoos, basically everything I wasn't. He climbed into his Mustang and drove away without a backward glance. Sam appeared in the doorway a few minutes later, straightening her yoga outfit and running her fingers through her hair. She looked satisfied in a way that made my stomach churn. I waited another 10 minutes, then drove around the block and came home like nothing had happened. Hey, Sam said as I walked through the front door. How was your meeting with Mason? Fine, contract stuff. I studied her face, looking for signs of guilt or nervousness, but she seemed perfectly calm, perfectly normal. How was your day? Good. Had a workout session with a trainer from the gym. Trent Wallace. I think I've mentioned him before. Maybe. I don't really keep track of your gym friends. He's really helping me improve my core strength. I bet he was. That's great, honey. I'm going to grab a shower before dinner. Actually, I was thinking we could order takeout tonight. I'm pretty tired from my workout. I bet she was. Sure. Chinese? Perfect. I went upstairs to our bedroom and immediately noticed the rumpled bed sheets, the faint scent of unfamiliar cologne, and the water glass on Trent's side of the bed. Sam hadn't even bothered to clean up properly. In our bathroom, I found a condom wrapper in the wastebasket. The sheer carelessness of it was almost insulting. Did she think I was blind? Did she think I was so checked out of our marriage that I wouldn't notice another man's cologne in our bedroom? Or maybe she just didn't care anymore. I showered, washing away the day's discoveries and disappointments, and tried to figure out my next move. The evidence was overwhelming. The legal strategy was sound, and Mason's private investigator would provide additional documentation. But I wanted more than a favorable divorce settlement. I wanted Sam to understand that actions had consequences, that betrayal came with a price. I wanted her to learn that boring, predictable Elliot Granger wasn't as harmless as she thought. Over dinner, Chinese takeout, eaten in uncomfortable silence while the kids texted their friends and Sam scrolled through her phone, I made my decision. The war was coming. Sam just didn't know it yet. The private investigator Mason recommended was named Sarah Chen, and she looked nothing like what I'd expected. Instead of a grizzled ex-cop with a drinking problem, she was a petite Asian-American woman in her early 40s who could have passed for a suburban soccer mom, which, she explained during our meeting at a coffee shop in Bellevue, was exactly the point. People don't notice middle-aged women, she said, sipping a latte that probably contained enough caffeine to power a small aircraft. We're invisible. It's a superpower. Sarah had spent 15 years with the FBI before starting her own investigation firm, specializing in matrimonial cases. Her credentials were impressive, her references were stellar, and her hourly rate was astronomical. But Mason had assured me she was worth every penny. I've reviewed the materials your attorney provided, she said, pulling out a tablet and opening a file. Your wife has been remarkably careless about operational security. Operational security? Tradecraft. The basic precautions people take when they're conducting covert activities. Your wife is conducting her affair like someone who's never seen a spy movie. Is that good or bad for us? Very good. Careless people leave evidence, and evidence wins cases. Sarah outlined her surveillance plan with military precision. She would document Sam's movements, photograph her meetings with Trent Wallace, and gather additional intelligence about their relationship. She would also investigate Trent himself, his background, his finances, his social media presence. What are you looking for? I asked. Patterns, vulnerabilities, leverage. Your wife chose this man for a reason, and that reason might be useful to us. How long will this take? 2 weeks should be sufficient, maybe less if they're as careless as they appear to be. I wrote her a check that made my checking account weep, but it felt like money well spent. Sam had declared war on our marriage. I was simply hiring better generals. Over the next week, I fell into a strange routine. I went to work, attended meetings, wrote security reports, and pretended that everything was normal. At home, I played the role of the oblivious husband while secretly documenting every lie Sam told. Every late night she spent working, every mysterious phone call she took in the other room. The kids knew something was happening. Owen and Lily had developed a sixth sense about adult dysfunction, and they watched our interactions with the wariness of prey animals sensing a predator nearby. "Dad," Lily said one evening as we loaded the dishwasher together, "are you and Mom getting divorced?" It was the second time she'd asked that question, and this time I decided to be honest. Probably. She nodded like she'd expected that answer. Good. Good. She's been really mean to you lately, and to us. And Uncle Derek is gross. What do you mean, gross? Lily wrinkled her nose. He stares at my friends when they come over, and he made this weird comment about how I'm developing last time he was here. A cold rage settled in my chest. He said what? It's okay, Dad. Owen heard him and told him to shut up, but it was creepy. I made a mental note to have a conversation with Derek about appropriate boundaries. A very pointed conversation, possibly involving my baseball bat. If he ever makes you uncomfortable again, you tell me immediately. Okay? Okay. Dad? Yeah? When you and Mom get divorced, can we stay with you? Owen and I already talked about it, and we want to live with you. The relief I felt was overwhelming. Whatever happened with Sam, whatever ugliness was coming, my kids would be safe. Of course, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Nothing's decided yet. But that was a lie. Everything had been decided the moment I found those videos. The only question now was how much collateral damage there would be. Sarah called me 3 days later with her preliminary report. We met at the same coffee shop, and she spread a collection of photographs across the table, like a dealer laying out cards. Your wife and Mr. Wallace have been very busy, she said. The photos showed Sam and Trent at various locations around Seattle. Restaurants, hotels, his apartment, even a weekend trip to Vancouver that Sam had claimed was a business conference. In every image, they looked like a couple, holding hands, kissing, behaving like people who were deeply involved with each other. How often are they meeting? I asked. 3 to 4 times per week, sometimes at his place, sometimes at hotels, occasionally at your house when you're at work and the kids are at school. My house, my bed, my marriage. What about his background? Sarah flipped to another section of her report. Trent Wallace, age 36, former Army sergeant, discharged under less than honorable conditions. What kind of less than honorable conditions? Conduct unbecoming. He was caught having an affair with his commanding officer's wife. The irony was almost funny. Sam had chosen to cheat with a man who specialized in cheating with married women. He's currently unemployed, Sarah continued. His fitness influencer career never took off, and his last legitimate job was at a gym in Tacoma. He was fired 6 months ago for inappropriate conduct with female clients. What kind of inappropriate conduct? Sexual maltreatment, 3 separate complaints. The gym settled out of court to avoid bad publicity. So he's a predator. He's a man who uses his physical attractiveness to manipulate women. Your wife isn't his first affair with a married woman, and she won't be his last. Sarah showed me more photos. Trent with other women, all of them married, all of them older and wealthier than he was. It was a pattern, a business model. He was essentially a gigolo who specialized in bored suburban housewives. There's something else, Sarah said, her voice dropping to a whisper. I think your wife is giving him money. She showed me surveillance photos of Sam handing Trent envelopes, meeting him at banks, accompanying him to expensive restaurants where he paid with cash. How much money? Hard to say without access to her accounts, but based on their spending patterns, I'd estimate several $1,000s per month. The cryptocurrency transfers suddenly made sense. Sam wasn't just planning to leave me, she was financing her new life with Trent using money stolen from our children's college funds. "What's your recommendation?" I asked. Sarah gathered up the photos and slid them into a manila envelope. "Strike fast and strike hard. Your wife thinks she's in control of this situation, but she's not. She's being manipulated by a professional, and she's too emotionally invested to see it clearly." "What do you mean?" "Trent Wallace doesn't love your wife, Mr. Granger. He loves her money and her willingness to provide it. The moment this affair becomes public, the moment it becomes a liability instead of an asset, he'll disappear. And your wife will be left to face the consequences alone." I drove home with Sarah's report burning a hole in my briefcase, and a plan forming in my head. Sam thought she was so clever, so careful, so far ahead of her boring, predictable husband. She was about to learn otherwise. That evening, Sam announced that she was going out with her girlfriends again. Another wine night with Maddie and the other country club wives. She'd been having a lot of wine nights lately. "Don't wait up," she said, kissing my cheek with lips that would probably be kissing Trent Wallace within the hour. "Have fun," I said, and meant it, because while she was having fun, I would be preparing her destruction. After she left, I gathered Owen and Lily in the living room for a family meeting. "I need to tell you both something," I said. "Your mom and I are getting divorced." Neither of them looked surprised. "Is it because of the guy with the Mustang?" Owen asked. "Partly. It's complicated." "When?" Lily asked. "Soon. I'm filing papers next week." "Can we stay with you?" Owen asked. "If that's what you want?" "It is," they said in unison. "Okay, but I need you both to understand that things are going to get ugly. Your mom isn't going to take this well, and there's going to be a lot of drama. I'm going to do everything I can to protect you from it, but I can't shield you completely." "We can handle it," Lily said. "We've been handling Mom's weirdness for months." "There's something else. I'm going to make sure everyone knows why we're getting divorced. Your mom's affair, the money she's been stealing, all of it. It's going to be embarrassing for our whole family." Owen leaned forward. "Good. She embarrassed us first. Are you sure about this? Because once I start, there's no going back." "We're sure," Lily said. "She chose that gross guy over us. Now she gets to live with the consequences." Looking at my kids, my smart, loyal, fierce kids, I felt a surge of pride mixed with determination. Sam had betrayed all of us, not just me. She'd chosen her selfish desires over her children's well-being, her marriage vows over her family's stability. Now it was time for her to pay the price. "All right then," I said. "Let's go to war." Mason filed the divorce papers on a Friday morning, timing the service to coincide with Sam's weekly team meeting at Morrison & Associates. The process server would deliver the documents to her office, ensuring maximum embarrassment in front of her colleagues and subordinates. But that was just the opening move. While Sam was discovering that her boring, predictable husband had finally grown a spine, I was implementing the second phase of our strategy. Using my cybersecurity credentials, I'd gained access to the social media accounts of several prominent members of our country club's social circle. Not illegally. I wasn't stupid enough to hack into private accounts. But people were remarkably careless about their privacy settings, and a little social engineering went a long way. A few carefully crafted phishing emails, some fake password reset requests, and suddenly I had administrative access to the Maple Ridge Estates neighborhood Facebook group. At exactly noon, I posted a message that would detonate like a nuclear bomb in our insular suburban community. "Hi everyone, Elliot Granger here. I wanted to let you all know that Sam and I are getting divorced. I've discovered that she's been having an affair with a man named Trent Wallace for the past 8 months. She's also been stealing money from our children's college funds to finance this relationship. I thought you should know, since Sam has been lying to many of you about her whereabouts during their meetings. For those of you who've been providing her with alibis for her girls' nights and business trips, you might want to reconsider enabling this behavior. I've attached some photographic evidence for anyone who doubts the veracity of these claims. Elliot." The attached photos were carefully selected from Sarah's surveillance files. Nothing explicit, but clear evidence of Sam and Trent's relationship. Pictures of them holding hands at restaurants, kissing in parking lots, entering hotels together. The response was immediate and explosive. My phone started ringing within minutes. Text messages poured in from neighbors, friends, and acquaintances. The Facebook post was shared, commented on, and dissected with the enthusiasm of a pack of hyenas discovering fresh meat. Some people expressed sympathy and support. Others demanded more details. A few tried to defend Sam, but their voices were quickly drowned out by the digital mob. Patricia Morrison, the neighborhood gossip queen and HOA president, called me directly. "Elliot, honey, I am so sorry. I had no idea Sam was, well, we all thought she was just going through a phase." A phase? You know, the midlife crisis thing. Lots of wives go through it, but this is something else entirely. Yes, it is. Is there anything we can do? Any way we can help? Just tell the truth when people ask. I'm tired of being the only honest person in this marriage. By 3 o'clock, the story had spread beyond our immediate neighborhood. The post had been shared to other community groups, forwarded via email, and discussed in dozens of private message threads. Sam's carefully constructed image as the perfect suburban wife and mother was crumbling in real time. At 4:15, my phone rang. Sam's number. "You bastard," she said without preamble. Her voice was shaking with rage and something that might have been fear. "Hello, Sam. How was your day? How could you do this to me, to our family?" "I didn't do anything to our family. You did. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it." "You posted private information on social media. You violated my privacy." "Your privacy? You've been screwing another man in our bed while our children were downstairs. You forfeited your right to privacy the moment you decided to film it." Silence on the other end of the line. Then quietly, "How did you find out?" "Does it matter? The point is, I know, everyone knows, and now you get to live with the consequences. Elliot, please. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can... No, we can't. You stole from our children, Sam. You stole their college money to finance your affair. There's no coming back from that. I can pay it back. With what? Your boyfriend's money? Oh, wait. He doesn't have any money. He's been living off you, hasn't he? Using you for your bank account while you thought he was using you for your body?" Another long silence. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller, more vulnerable than I'd heard it in years. "Where are the kids?" "Safe. They're staying with me. I want to see them. They don't want to see you. Not right now. You can't keep me from my children. I'm not keeping you from anything. They're old enough to make their own decisions, and they've decided they don't want to be around someone who would steal their college money to fund an affair." The line went dead. I sat in my office, looking out at the rain-soaked Seattle afternoon, and tried to feel something other than hollow satisfaction. The first phase of my revenge was complete. Sam's reputation was destroyed, her social circle was in chaos, and her carefully constructed double life had been exposed for everyone to see. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. My phone buzzed with a text from Owen. "Dad, Mom's here. She's crying on the front porch and asking us to let her in. What should we do?" I looked out the window and saw Sam's car in the driveway. She was sitting on our front steps in her business suit, shoulders shaking with sobs. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the videos, the stolen money, the casual way she'd dismissed me as boring and predictable. "Tell her she can come back when she's ready to have an honest conversation," I texted back. "Until then, she can stay at her boyfriend's place." "She says he won't answer her calls." Of course he wouldn't. Trent Wallace was a predator, not a romantic. The moment Sam became a liability instead of an asset, he'd cut her loose. Sarah had predicted this exact scenario. "Not our problem," I texted. "She made her choices." Sam stayed on the porch for another hour, alternately crying and pounding on the door. Several neighbors came out to watch the show, and I saw more than one person taking photos with their phones. By tomorrow, those images would be circulating through every social media group and email chain in our community. Eventually, she gave up and drove away. I watched her taillights disappear into the gray Seattle evening and wondered if this was what victory was supposed to feel like. My phone rang again. Mason. "Jesus Christ, Elliot, you nuked her from orbit." Was that a problem? Legally? No. Everything you posted was factual and you had evidence to support it. Strategically? It was brilliant. She can't claim she's the sufferer now, not with half of Seattle knowing exactly what she did. What's next? Now we wait for her lawyer to call and start negotiating. She's going to want to settle quickly and quietly, but that ship has sailed. Everyone already knows what happened. Good. There's something else. My investigator friend has been monitoring social media chatter about your post. Apparently, your wife isn't the only cheating spouse in your neighborhood. 3 other women have been exposed in the comments section. Seriously? Your post opened the floodgates. People are sharing their own stories, posting their own evidence. You've started a suburban truth and reconciliation commission. I couldn't help but laugh. I just wanted to destroy my wife's reputation. I didn't mean to take down the entire neighborhood. Well, you did. The Maple Ridge Estates Facebook group has more activity today than it's had in the past year combined. You're like the Edward Snowden of adultery. After Mason hung up, I poured myself a bourbon and tried to process the day's events. In the span of 8 hours, I destroyed my wife's reputation, exposed her affair to our entire social circle, and apparently triggered a community-wide reckoning with marital infidelity. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like the end of the world. Owen and Lily found me in my office an hour later, looking shell-shocked and exhausted. "Dad," Lily said, "are you okay?" "I'm fine. How are you two holding up?" "Better than Mom, apparently," Owen said. "Half our friends have texted us about the Facebook post. Everyone's talking about it." "I'm sorry you have to deal with this." "Don't be sorry," Lily said fiercely. "She deserved it. She embarrassed our whole family with that guy. Now she knows how it feels." "What happens next?" Owen asked. "Now we rebuild. New house, new school district if you want, new life. Whatever you two need to feel safe and happy." "What about Mom?" I thought about Sam sitting on our porch, crying and begging to be let in. I thought about the years of marriage, the good times and the bad times, the shared dreams and broken promises. Your mom made her choices. Now she has to live with them. "Do you think she'll be okay?" Lily asked. "Eventually. But that's not our responsibility anymore." We ordered pizza for dinner and ate it in front of the TV, trying to pretend that everything was normal. But normal was gone, probably forever. We were living in the aftermath now, in the wreckage of what used to be our family. Later that night, after the kids had gone to bed, I stood at my bedroom window looking out at the rain and wondering what came next. The divorce proceedings would be ugly, but straightforward. Sam had no leverage, no credibility, and no public support. I would get the house, custody of the kids, and most of our assets. But revenge, I was learning, was a hollow victory. I'd destroyed my wife, exposed her lies, and humiliated her in front of everyone we knew. I'd won. So why did it feel so much like losing? The fallout from my Facebook post spread through Maple Ridge Estates like wildfire in August. By Monday morning, 3 marriages had ended, 2 women had been kicked out of the country club, and the neighborhood WhatsApp group had devolved into a digital thunderdome of accusations, denials, and recriminations. I'd become something between a folk hero and a pariah, depending on who you asked. "Elliot Granger is a goddamn hero," declared Bill Patterson, whose wife had been exposed as one of Sam's accomplices in the affair cover-up conspiracy. Finally, someone with the balls to tell the truth about what these women have been doing. "Elliot Granger is a vindictive psychopath," countered Jennifer Walsh, whose own marriage was now under scrutiny after someone posted screenshots of her flirty text messages with her personal trainer. "He destroyed his wife's life out of spite." The truth, as usual, was somewhere in between. I wasn't a hero, and I wasn't a psychopath. I was just a man who'd gotten tired of being lied to and had decided to burn down the entire structure of polite suburban fiction that had enabled those lies. Sam, meanwhile, had gone to ground. According to neighborhood gossip, and there was plenty of it, she was staying at a hotel downtown, avoiding phone calls, and had taken a leave of absence from her job. Trent Wallace had vanished completely, his social media accounts deleted, his apartment abandoned. "She looks terrible," reported Patricia Morrison during one of her daily intelligence briefings. She'd appointed herself as my unofficial liaison to the neighborhood gossip network, and she took the role seriously. "I saw her at the grocery store yesterday. She was wearing sunglasses inside and looked like she hadn't slept in a week." "How terrible?" I asked, hating myself for caring, but unable to stop the question. "Like someone who's been crying for a week straight. Her hair was a mess, no makeup, wearing sweatpants in the middle of the day. I almost didn't recognize her." Part of me, the part that had loved Sam for 20 years, felt a stab of guilt. But then I remembered the videos, the stolen money, the casual way she dismissed me as too boring to notice her betrayal. "Not our problem," I said, echoing my text to Owen from the previous week. But it was becoming our problem, whether I wanted it to be or not. The kids were dealing with the social fallout at school, where their classmates had seen the Facebook post and its aftermath. Owen was handling it with typical teenage stoicism, but Lily was struggling. Madison Chen asked me if it was true that Mom was stealing money. She told me over breakfast on Tuesday morning. I didn't know what to say. Tell her it's none of her business. But it is true, isn't it? I looked at my 15-year-old daughter, smart, perceptive, and far too young to be dealing with adult problems, and tried to figure out how to protect her from the consequences of my choices. Yes, it's true, but that doesn't mean you have to discuss it with your friends. Everyone's talking about it anyway. Some people are saying you're a hero for exposing her. Other people are saying you're cruel for humiliating her publicly. What do you think? Lily considered this for a moment, stirring her cereal with the kind of deliberate concentration that meant she was thinking hard about something important. I think Mom hurt us first, she said finally. She hurt you. She hurt Owen. She hurt me. She stole our college money and lied to everyone about it. So if she's embarrassed now, that's her fault, not yours. But I feel sorry for her anyway. Even though she's been awful, she's still my mom. And now everyone hates her. This was the conversation I'd been dreading, the moment when my children had to grapple with the complexity of loving someone who had betrayed them, of feeling sympathy for someone who had caused them pain. It's okay to feel sorry for her, I said. It's okay to be angry with her too. You can feel both things at the same time. Do you feel sorry for her? The honest answer was yes, sometimes, in the quiet moments when I remembered the woman I'd married instead of the stranger she'd become. But that sympathy was complicated by anger, betrayal, and the knowledge that she'd brought this destruction on herself. Sometimes, I said, but feeling sorry for someone doesn't mean you have to forgive them or trust them again. Are you ever going to forgive her? I don't know. Maybe someday, but not today. That afternoon, Mason called with an update on the legal proceedings. Sam's lawyer wants to meet, he said. They're ready to negotiate. What are they offering? Full custody to you, minimal alimony. She keeps her car and personal effects. Basically, they want to settle as quickly and quietly as possible. And in return, they want you to stop posting about her on social media and sign a non-disclosure agreement about the affair. I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. They want me to give her a soft landing after she stole from our children and humiliated our family for 8 months? That's the gist of it, yes. Counteroffer, she returns every penny she stole, pays for the kids' therapy, and makes a public apology for her actions. In return, I won't post any more photos or videos. Videos? Oh, did I not mention? I have video footage of her and Trent in our bedroom. Multiple occasions, very explicit. Mason was quiet for a long moment. Jesus, Elliot, you've been holding that back. I wanted to see if she'd be reasonable first. Apparently, she's not interested in reasonable. If you release those videos, I won't have to. The threat will be enough. Sam knows what's on them, and she knows I have them. Her lawyer will explain the implications. This is getting into scorched earth territory. Good. She scorched our family first. But even as I said it, I wondered if I was going too far. The Facebook post had been about truth-telling and consequences. Threatening to release Zex tapes felt different, more personal, more cruel. Then again, Sam had filmed those videos in my bed, in my house, while my children were downstairs. If she was embarrassed by their existence, she should have thought about that before making them. That evening, I was working in my office when Owen knocked on the door. Dad, there's someone here to see you. I looked up to find Derek standing in my doorway, and he looked even worse than Patricia's description of Sam. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive clothes were wrinkled, and his face had the gray pallor of someone who'd been drinking too much and sleeping too little. We need to talk, he said. I don't think we do. Please, 5 minutes? Against my better judgment, I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Derek sat down heavily, like a man carrying an enormous weight. You destroyed her, he said without preamble. She destroyed herself. I just made sure everyone knew about it. Sam's in the hospital. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? Psychiatric hold. She tried to eliminate herself yesterday. Pills and alcohol. The room seemed to tilt sideways. I gripped the edge of my desk, trying to anchor myself to something solid. She's alive, stable, but she's not doing well, Elliot. The doctors say she had a complete breakdown. I thought about Sam sitting on our porch, crying and begging to be let in. I thought about Patricia's description of her at the grocery store. wearing sunglasses inside and looking like she hadn't slept in a week. Why are you telling me this? Because you're the only person who can stop this madness. The Facebook post, the neighborhood gossip, all of it. People listen to you now. If you asked them to back off, they would. And why would I do that? Derek leaned forward, his eyes pleading. Because despite everything she did, Sam is still the mother of your children, and they don't deserve to lose her completely. She made her choices. She made mistakes, terrible mistakes. But does that mean she deserves to die? The question hung in the air between us like smoke. I thought about Lily asking if I would ever forgive her mother, about Owen's fierce loyalty to me, about the 20 years of marriage that had ended in betrayal and public humiliation. What do you want from me? I asked. Call off the dogs, post something asking people to respect your family's privacy, let her heal. In exchange for what? She'll give you everything. The house, the kids, all the assets. She just wants a chance to rebuild her life somewhere else. I stared at Derek, trying to see past his desperation to the truth underneath. Was this genuine concern for his sister, or just another manipulation? Was Sam really in the hospital, or was this an elaborate ploy to gain sympathy? I want to see her, I said. What? If Sam is really in the hospital, if she really tried to eliminate herself, I want to see her. Face to face. Derek nodded quickly. I can arrange that, but Elliot, be gentle with her. She's not the same person she was a week ago. After Derek left, I sat in my office staring out at the rain and trying to process this new information. Sam in the hospital. Sam trying to eliminate herself. Sam broken and defeated and asking for mercy. Part of me felt vindicated. She'd finally faced the consequences of her actions, finally understood the pain she'd caused our family. But another part of me, the part that had loved her for 20 years, felt sick with guilt. Had I gone too far? Had my quest for justice become simple cruelty? I called Mason and told him about Derek's visit. It could be a manipulation, he said, a way to gain sympathy and leverage in the divorce proceedings. It could be. But what if it's not? Then you have a decision to make. How far are you willing to push this? I don't know anymore. For what it's worth, you've already won. Sam has no credibility, no public support, and no legal leverage. You could afford to be magnanimous now. Is that what you'd do? I don't know. I've never been where you are. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling and thinking about the woman I'd married 20 years ago. Young, ambitious, funny Sam, who'd laughed at my terrible jokes and believed in my dreams. The Sam who'd held my hand during my father's funeral, who'd stayed up all night when Owen had pneumonia, who'd cried happy tears when Lily took her first steps. When had that Sam disappeared? When had she become the stranger who could steal from our children and film herself with another man in our bed? And when had I become the kind of person who could destroy someone so completely that they wanted to die? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Sam. Derek told me you want to see me. Room 314 Harborview Medical Center. Visiting hours are 8 p.m. Please come alone. I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, I'll be there tomorrow at 3. Thank you, came the immediate reply. I deleted the message thread and tried to sleep, but rest wouldn't come. Tomorrow I would face the wreckage of my marriage and try to figure out whether justice and mercy could coexist. Tomorrow I would look into the eyes of the woman who had betrayed me and decide whether revenge was worth the price we'd all paid for it.